What makes a good hair loss video? You do, when you leave comments and prove that I've stumbled in to a video topic that you really care about. How do I know that you care about it? I just look at the comments. I look at how many comments that I get. And I've got quite a few comments on a video I made called Norwood 2.5 Vertex versus Norwood 3 versus Norwood 4. With not even having it at 24 hours, it's already got 21 comments. I care more about comments than I do likes or dislikes. I'm looking at comments. That tells me it's worth your time. If someone takes the time, even if they hate the video, if they take the time to watch a video and then comment on it, whether they say they hate it, there's some part of that that's intriguing. So there was definitely, I want to go through some of the comments in this and we can kind of see the general theme, the general takeaway about the whole Norwood chart. So check out this comment here. And I think this is quite telling, and then it gets positive from here. But Craig Westenberg had this to say, quote, "This almost devalues your opinion a little bit. I mean, you misdiagnosed yourself. What's to say you haven't misdiagnosed other people who sent pictures to get your opinion? It seems just a little cruel." There's an emotional word there. It just seems a little cruel now to have an older gentleman who may not even go bald explain that he understands what it's like to be experiencing hair loss. I mean, I don't mind, but it could annoy other newer viewers, end quote. And to that I would say, by all means, if you're out there watching my videos questioning the validity of what I do, please don't watch any more videos. Please unsubscribe immediately. You should not, and I've said this in so many videos, you shouldn't keep people in your life that are a negative influence on you or that you cannot trust. If you cannot trust me, stop watching my videos immediately. Unplug. Remember I talk about that? You got to unplug those people from your life. So stop watching the videos. Don't simply unsubscribe. Just never watch another one of my videos. Otherwise you'll still be tempted to come back. Make sure you make it easy on yourself. If you can't trust me, if I'm a hypocrite, if I'm cruel, get me out of your life. Make me go away by unsubscribing. Stop watching the videos immediately, and I mean that. I don't need subscribers that badly. I don't need subscribers or watchers who can't trust me, okay? I don't need people like that. I'm only looking for people who understand that this is all theories. I'm not an expert. I'm very clear about that. I am just a YouTuber who has some theories. But the thing is, here's what makes me relevant, is that I'm not an expert. If I were an expert, then perhaps I wouldn't have the appeal that I have, because experts are trying to sell you something, and you know that. Experts on hair loss, ultimately in their back pocket, oh, by the way, you need a hair transplant? I know just the place to go. Oh, by the way, you need to have some kind of prescription drug to stop that. Oh, I got just the place, right? I got nothing in my back pocket, except for this for some reason. All right, so that's what I want to say. If you can't trust me, unsubscribe, stop watching me immediately. But I think here's the real heart of this. This is a reoccurring comment that keeps coming on, not just this video, but all of them, really, that talk about Norwood. Here it is. Plague213 has this to say, quote, "I believe that chart is inaccurate. Most Norwood 3s don't have that peak recession, and most Norwood 4s don't recede that far. Look up Norwood 3 and Norwood 4 on Google for real cases of it instead of this chart. As far as your hairline, I believe you're between a Norwood 2 and a Norwood 3 vertex. And since you're balding really slowly, I would believe you'd be a Norwood 3 in your early 40s and Norwood 4 in your early 50s, Norwood 5 in your early 60s, and so on," end quote. So there's lots more comments, but I think most of them back up the one I just read. That ultimately, I'm not exactly a Norwood 3 at this point, but I do have the vertex, which kind of puts me somewhere in that neighborhood, and that I probably won't be Norwood 4 in the next couple of years in my early 40s. So ultimately, the main takeaway above all of this is the Norwood chart trustworthy? We could also ask, am I trustworthy as a YouTube host who talks about hair loss? And the ultimate answer is no. I'm not trustworthy. I'm just a guy with theories that people know that they'd rather hear a guy like me than to hear someone who's gonna try to sell them something. I hope I've made it very clear. I'm an unreliable host. I have dynamic changes that occur in my character, just like any good superhero in a Marvel movie. They're going to change. Do you think you go in watching Thor, he's got long hair, right? Got the long hair. And then, oh, you watch him in a new movie, by then he looks a lot different now, right? Because he changes. I change. We all change. We grow. And I'm not going to have the same exact perspective today as I'm going to have next year. Just like I've changed a whole lot more since I started doing this a couple years ago. So expect me to change. Expect me to change my perspective. I'm just as unreliable as the Norwood chart. I guess I need to make that the title of this video. That'd be pretty awesome, actually. So think about this. Is the Norwood chart reliable? No, and it never will be and it never can be. Why? Because people have different ways of losing their hair. And I've got a video I'm making coming up talking about how Asian men tend to have more diffuse thinning as compared to the typical male pattern baldness chart. Even aside from that though, there's still diffuse thinning that can affect anyone. There's always exceptions to the rule. There's guys that lose it, that have a receding hairline on just one side. We're making this thing as predictable as we can, but it's never going to be an exact science, which again is the appeal of my channel, because I'm just doing my best to make some sort of sense in the unpredictableness, and I'm not claiming to have all the answers. And I think that's part of the reality of this. So it's like, oh, am I a hypocrite because I misdiagnosed myself and therefore nothing I can say? Well, no, because there's reality in that. There's honesty in admitting that I can only be as right as I perceive things. In this chart, it's just a guesstimate, and that's all I expect it to be. I keep my standards low enough for my expectations for the Norwood chart. In closing, I would say this. Some of you have ventured over to my other channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog, the YouTube channel that I have that talks about DNA test results, and I have the same conversations daily. Comments come in daily that say the same thing. They say, Nick, you took the DNA test results and it's showing that, you know, you were 21% Mayan and Aztec. Well, how can you be if your grandmother was Mexican? She would have had to have been full Mayan and Aztec. She couldn't have had any European blood, but then you've got more space. Nick, these tests can't be exactly right. Exactly. They're not exactly right. So just like these DNA tests, you can get the most accurate one and it's still not going to be exactly right, you know? On the same way, Norwood. I think you have to take it with the saying goes, a grain of salt. And I do that. Norwood, not a perfect chart. These DNA tests, not a perfect science. I'm not looking for perfect. And I think people who like my channel know that. They know that this isn't perfect. They have expectations that are realistic. So, how do you know if you should unsubscribe? If you think I'm a hypocrite, if you think I'm cruel, if you think I'm unreliable, well, you're definitely right on that. I'm definitely unreliable, as is the Norwood chart. You've got just some decisions to make. Do you want to subscribe to somebody else that's going to try to sell you something and try to sell you an agenda? Or are you going to continue watching videos from a regular guy who knows that he's not perfect and knows the Norwood chart's not perfect? The choice is up to you.